3 long days, some I don't know. It takes a little more than what you show, and that's yesterday. Yeah, yesterday.
Welcome to Bobby Finn Knows Everyone, part of the Pull Tab Sports family, down at the Hockey Expo, Let's Play Hockey Expo at the Boys State Tournament. Along with me, my co-host, Tom Lord. How are you, Tommy?
Hey, thanks for having me today, Bobby.
You
excited to be here.
Also with us, our guest today is David Vaque from the Star Tribune. How are you, Dave?
I'm doing well, sir. How are you?
Very good, thank you.
Good.
Yeah.
Exciting to have you. We got Mr. You didn't play, you weren't Mr. Hockey, I should say, but you are Mr. Hockey in terms of knowing everything about the state tournament.
Well, I'm half a historian because I was the co-author of this book, so I'm only half a historian, but I'll take it.
Yeah, that's great. So David's got a book out there. Everybody's got to go check it out. It's called Tourney Time. It's all about the high school hockey tournament. If you are into the high school hockey tournament, if you're into boys hockey, if you're into girls hockey, you got to check this book out because it's got everything you'd ever want to know about the high school hockey tournament here in Minnesota. I think our prized possession. I think as a Minnesota sports fan, it's our thing, right?
That's the Bible.
It really is.
Yeah, that's the history. That's one of the greatest things about hockey. Everybody's loved it for 70 years. Or 70, how long now?
76, 77.
The 75th tournament was 2019, so we're
78, 70, yeah, somewhere 78, 79.
We don't do math here on the Bobby Finn Knows Everyone podcast. So
I failed freshman algebra. I can't help either.
Well, you are a St. Paul guy.
You're a writer. Yeah, you're a writer.
Yeah, right. But no, it's got to be, I haven't had a chance to read it yet, but it will be on my coffee table at some point, not just protecting it.
So, David, what do you think makes our tournament here just like the crown jewel of Minnesota sports?
I was asked about the book, what's the same throughout the years, because it's been at different venues. The equipment, of course, is strikingly different now than it used to be. And the teams come and go and they change and so on. But I said that the common bond is the passion. It was always very important to the kids that were playing in the tournament and representing their communities and playing with their buddies and honoring their parents and their coaches and giving their best. And that's, I think, why the tournament endures, is because it's the best of really athletics being played out in hockey, and that's never changed over these many years and in these many places and so on and so on. So that's the best part about it, and people respond to that, and they like to be part of that, and that's why this tournament is really like a holiday. I mean, I went down today walking the concourse, and I ran into people that I haven't seen in a year that I am always excited to see because it's the tournament and they are always here. And then I saw people who I would never have guessed I would have run into. So it just makes it a lot of fun.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, people are coming from everywhere, right? I mean, this is kind of a destination weekend for a lot of people. It's funny when I talk to people that really don't know what's going on in our industry from my regular job is they're like, how do you sell out a high school event like that? But really, I mean, those tickets are the biggest thing, right? They're passed down from generation to generation, and it's really difficult to get a ticket these days.
It is. They say that when people get older in Minnesota, the big debate is, all right, who gets the cabin and who gets the hockey tickets?
I like that.
There's a lot of truth in that, isn't there?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
That's great. So let me ask you, the book, you get a lot of stories, you got a lot of, of course, a lot of information in it, but you got a lot of stories too about things that happen while these teams are playing in the tourney. Do you have any favorites that stick out? I have one that I remember, but I'd love to hear your opinion on that.
Well, let's start with yours. Because I could give you what we have on that chapter.
The 96 Apple Valley.
Oh, okay.
Duluth East game, and the story you talked about with the referee.
Yes, yeah, that chapter opened because this game is the game, really, and it's been well chronicled and well documented. And so the challenge when you got closer to the modern era is, okay, how do we tell this joke differently? What's our setup going to be? I have a friend of mine who's a hockey official, and he said that when the officials get together, that the Rick Larson always starts, you get a couple of pops in him, and he starts talking about the 96 tournament and how he was one of the linesmen in that game. And he gets home. He lived in Eagan at the time, and after the game ended at 1:39, I think it was, in the morning, he had to drive back home to Egan, and he said when he got pulled into the garage, his attached garage, and he was going to get out of the car, and he couldn't get his legs to work because he'd cramped up so bad
From 5 overtimes.
Yeah. So he crawls out of the vehicle, sort of like watching Leo crawl into his Lamborghini in
Wolf of
Wall Street. Thank you. And he kind of makes his way, kind of slithers up the stairs, and he crawls into bed. And he says, "Okay, good," because he got 2 young daughters at the time, and of course his wife. I didn't wake anybody up. This is good. He's like, okay. Now he's going to lay down and go to sleep. And his wife stirs and looks over at the clock and then looks over at him and says, "I thought I told you not to go to the bar after the game." Turns out she had turned the game off after the first period.
Oh, that's
so
funny.
she had no idea.
She just thought he went out late into the night.
Exactly.
Boozing.
And I'm sure on some nights she would have been right. You know, she didn't just pull that alibi out of a hat. But Rick was totally doing everything by the book, and that game just kept him out late. And I thought, well, I'm sitting there laughing hysterically as he's telling me this story over at the Gidio's down the street here. And I said, okay, this story is as good as I hoped it would be. We have the beginning of this chapter.
Yeah, right. That's not my favorite one because
awesome.
we were at Grandma's on 7 Corners there, and the damn game kept going, and the bar was closed. So they kicked us out, so we didn't even get to watch the end.
You know, I'm actually glad you said that because somewhere along the way, I didn't put it in the book, but somebody said, yeah, I heard that they made an exception for the local bars to stay open later. And I thought, yeah, I don't think that.
No, we got the boot.
So now that clears that up for sure.
Yeah.
So good. I'm glad I didn't put it in the book.
We got the boot.
Not Grandma's.
Yeah. Well, there was a Jefferson game, though, back, God, it had to be in the mid-'80s that went to the next day.
Yeah,
They stopped playing it.
1985. That is the first and last time that a game got postponed until the next day.
You think they'll just keep? Yeah,
They picked it up the next day, like, all right, everybody just take a break.
It ended right away too, when they started to back up. But I mean, you got to think they would do that at some point again. And you think they're going to play till 2, 3 in the morning if they go more than 5?
I think they will, as long as it's the last. The key is it the last game of the day?
Yeah,
because I'll tell you what this postponement, it almost happened again in 2019 because in the Friday semifinal, the second game of the morning session, the single A session, that was, I believe, Greenway and Matamidi went to multiple overtimes, and that was in danger of them pulling the plug until the next day. And then later that evening, that same thing happened in the first game of the evening session with Eden Prairie and Lakeville South. So you could have very realistically had 2 semifinals get pushed to Saturday morning.
Wow.
Then they would have had to turn around and the winners would have to play again Saturday for the championship. So not a good contingency plan that's available. So let's hope that doesn't have to get invoked because it really would be kind of a disaster.
Do you think the Minnesota State High School League would allow them to play on Sundays if they ever did that?
No. Now that
Church is still running the state.
Well, you do wonder what that's all about exactly. But that would be a pretty good reason, or this sort of this signaling that they have their youth sports sort of in check, and they're not going to be crazy about it like a lot of the youth programs get into with their tournaments.
Oh yeah, it's insane. I mean, they don't even give a crap what time they start on a Thursday, Friday.
Yeah.
You're up in Moorhead for an 8 o'clock game on a Friday morning.
School is secondary with those tournaments, and all the parents they all this is stupid, and somebody should do something, and they never do. They're off to that tournament. So.
Yeah.
So how about all the games that you've written about? First of all, let me ask you this: how did you get the idea for the book, and how did you get into it? Because obviously it's an incredible event, but I haven't seen a book about it, and I know you're obviously a writer and you cover hockey for the Star Tribune, but how'd you get it started?
Well, I wanted to deliver the book you just said didn't exist, and I had somebody in mind to write it with, Lauren Nelson, who's over at the X right now covering the tournament. And he had done a series that was just on the website of the mnhockeyhub.com where he did the 100 best high school players in history. And he wrote a feature on each of those players every day because he'd spent all his time with the interviews and getting all the information together. And then for 100 days in a row, he wrote a different feature. He said, I'll never do that again. but he was looking for another challenge. And I said, well, I'd like to do this book, but I'd like to do it in a way that the NFL Network does the America's Game series, where they go inside the Super Bowl winner from the given year, and you hear some fun stories and anecdotes. And then you also, yes, you'll hear a little bit about who threw what pass and what the touchdown, but who are the people? What was it all about? You know, what was the experience like? And that's the book I want to deliver. And I said, Lauren, I'd love to have you a part of it. And Lauren took about 8 seconds and said, yep, I'm in. So, and then we got to it, and it took just shy of 3 years.
Wow.
Combined 400 interviews. We pulled more than 200 photos, most of them from the Minnesota Historical Society. And we got a big help there from VintageMNHockey.com's Kyle Owen. He was an absolute gangster when it came to getting in there and scanning photos and getting all these wonderful images that, you know, it's some that we haven't seen in forever and some that never saw the light of day. So all of those elements help make the book the special thing it turned out to be.
That's awesome.
So as you've written a lot about the various teams and people, do you got a top couple players that you think go down as the greatest for the tourney?
Well, John Mayasich has got to be at the top of that list. I mean, the guy didn't lose a game in high school. He's still got all the meaningful scoring records. And more than all of that, he's just, when you hang around with him, you just don't want to leave and go back home because he's such a gentleman. And he has this light about him. And he's just, you can tell, if you didn't know he played hockey, you could tell whatever he did in his work life, he was good at it. It's just the guy he is. So it was very enjoyable to have another reason to go sit with him and pick his brain and hear some stories.
That was cool last year when Alex Bump, that kid from Prior Lake, I think it was, Mayasich came down, shook his hand, and they had a little exchange. I thought that was pretty dang cool.
Yeah, and Alex, if he didn't appreciate it last year, in 10 years, he's really going to appreciate it because that's a special thing that not a lot of people get to say they took part in. And Mayasich is, again, just a class guy. So he stands out. He was great. I think more from the modern era, I got to give a nod to Johnny Pohl of Red Wing because, I mean, we had seen Rochester win the single class tournament in 77, so Southern Minnesota represented itself very well there. But then in 97, Johnny gets there with Red Wing and leads them to a championship. And I thought that really helped legitimize the class single A because first we had the 2 tiers, which we don't want to talk about the 2 tiers. That was a disaster. But then the class system began as we know it in 1994. And it was still, it really hadn't found its niche and what its purpose was. And I think with Johnny Pohl and Red Wing, I thought that's a team that really solidified. That's why you need this tournament for a community like that. They're not going to compete. And he says it in the book. We weren't going to compete with Wayzata and Eden Prairie, but we had a good team, and that gave us an opportunity to show that off on the state tournament stage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I got we befriended some families. This is back when my daughter was about 8 years old, and they're from Laverne. And they live and die hockey down there, but they're never going to compete when they come up here with even the bigger Class A schools, right? And unfortunately, they've drawn some bad ones the last few years, but they got here. They get to be a part of it, and that's amazing.
Yeah, it's not about who wins the tournament or who brings home third place. It's about that tournament. It set off 8 big celebrations around the state during the week of section finals. That's what it's about. If you get more when you get to the state tournament, that's a great bonus. But you did galvanize the community with a trip to state, and that's being able to have 8 more teams get to experience that and get to share in that. That's what it's about.
Yeah, it's a great story for sure.
Speaking of that, 96 Duluth East Apple Valley game, was Dave Spehar on that?
He was. Yes. He was a senior that year.
Did he have? I think I read he had 3 hat tricks in the state tournament. Is that?
I think that was right. I think you're right.
Well, he had 3 hat tricks in 95.
Okay.
When he was a junior, and then they come back in 96, and he has 4 goals in the quarterfinals. So it's like, oh my God, he's somehow even better. And so he gets Apple Valley in the semifinals and did not score a goal.
Okay.
Did not score a goal.
Who was the goaltender for Apple Valley? He was incredible.
Carl Gehring.
Yeah.
Wow. Look at you guys. You just got that.
He was unbelievable.
Went on to win a national championship in North Dakota.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was great. All 5'6" of them.
5'6"?
Yeah.
Wow.
He's not a big boy, but he played like he had a heart of a lion.
So I have to guess he didn't have the butterfly style going back then.
Probably not. He'd give a lot of net to shoot at.
Yeah, a ton of net. Yeah,
He had the flop style, the Dominic Hasek, just kind of all over the place.
Dominator.
All I know is it worked. Whatever he did, it worked.
The Denny Lemieux from the Charleston Chiefs, he wasn't a butterfly goal either, was he? He was kind of all over the place.
Well, those pads back in the day weighed about 50 pounds each. I don't know
Horsehair.
if they were still that heavy when he played, but no, it was good.
Oh, that's fantastic.
There's a little big man right there. Got a nice photo of him doing a little stretching
fantastic.
before the game. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right
well,
in
he
the
needed to
book.
stretch out because he played 2.5 games.
I know, it was great, and he wasn't doing well with it. He was the pressure of the situation was stressing him the hell out, and we talk about that in the book a little bit.
Really?
Yeah. He had to have his goalie coach come in there and do what the adult in the room is supposed to do, and kind of talk the young man off the ledge and make sure he could get out there and keep doing his thing.
Good for him because it didn't show. So good for him to keep it in and just go back out there and play.
Yeah, it takes a lot of guts.
Let's take a minute real quick to thank our sponsors. First, I want to talk about Jimmy's Salad Dressings and Dips because it's chunky blue cheese season. And that means Jimmy's has got that salad dressing that's got the chunky blue cheese in it. It's great on salads. It's great on buffalo wings. It's great on sandwiches. You can even mix it with a little French, like all of us good Midwesterners do. And kind of say, hey, I watched the state tournament and I mix my chunky blue cheese with French. And it all comes from Jimmy's. And you want to do that because Jimmy's a local company. They're sold at Cub Foods. They are sold at your local stores that you like to go to. So check them out.
You know what they say?
What do they say at Jimmy's? Don't you be messing?
With the dressing.
The other one I want to talk about is Joe Mama Salsa. The high school hockey tournament reminds me of Joe Mama Salsa because I know the owner. And he's a Cottage guy, and that's what I was a Cottage hockey player. So check out Joe Mama's. They're another local company. They have incredible salsas that you're gonna love. They start a little bit sweet and they end up a little bit hot. It takes your mouth on a flavor wave, so you want to check that out. And the other thing that's great about Joe Mama's is they are there to help sponsor your team. So what you do is just like you sell pizzas, instead you sell salsas because they take up less shelf space. They give you almost half of your money back to your team. And they don't keep all your freezer space, so you can't go to Costco and buy food. You got the Joe Mama's, you put it on the shelf, and the next thing you know is you're getting money back for your team. So check them out. Go to Joe Mama's fundraising and see how you can support your team. And it doesn't matter. It's not just hockey, even though they are the official salsa of hockey. They are also there to support your softball team, your lacrosse team, your basketball team, your baseball team. You name it. That's Joe Mama's. You also find them at Cub Foods.
Yeah, and can't be the hockey tournament without the hair product.
That's right.
Get some Duke Cannon Serious Flow and go put out the vibe, right, Coop? Go put out the vibe. Let the ladies check that stuff out. But
Guarantee every one of those kids in the all hockey hair team is rocking the Serious Flow.
they will be going home with a hockey puck of Serious Flow. There's no doubt about that. But you can get Serious Flow Duke Cannon products at Target or DukeCannon.com. Pull tab 10 for a 10% discount.
Awesome. David, back with you here. So David's got the book out. If we haven't talked about it enough already, you got to go check it out for yourself. It's called Tourney Time. And there's a lot of great info in it. Grant Bessie, I just saw you flip the page on Grant Bessie. He had quite a tourney too. And I remember people talking about him as much as they talked about anybody. He ended up playing at Wisconsin. I remember he had a good, successful career. He was a straight up stud for Benilde.
He was, and that was the year that Jack Jablonski had suffered his paralyzing injury. So that 2012 tournament brought a lot of eyes just from people that were interested in the tournament, but also interested in the Jack Jablonski story. And that was a very difficult stage in a lot of ways for the Benilde St. Margaret's players to play on. And they just came through it beautifully. And in the championship game, Grant Bessie, 5 goals, 3 of them shorthanded. Absolutely outstanding that evening. He was great. That's one of the all-time performances that you'll see in a state tournament, and it belonged to Grant Bessie.
Wow.
Who were your favorite players? Who were your favorite throughout the years?
Well, I was always partial to I grew up, went to St. Paul Johnson, and
Don't fight him, Bobby. Bobby's a Harding guy. Let's go. Take it easy.
Well, Johnson's the pride of the East Side, and then we got Harding. And
I got to take that at this point.
I grew up, the 1991 was the final single class tournament. It was my freshman year at Johnson, and our hockey team went to state that year. And those were the guys I looked up to because I thought, well, it doesn't get any better than that.
And those boys.
Yeah. Yep. Those are
Geisbauer.
Yep. Yeah. So those are the guys I thought that's the coolest. And then after that, you start to pay attention to the Jefferson dynasty. And that was just getting revved up at that time. So those were the guys. It was more about teams for me than players. I was always partial. My playground on the east side of St. Paul, where I played baseball and hockey, it was a black and gold Arlington playground.
Arlington, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Always wore black and gold. So I was really partial in the 80s when I was a kid watching it. It was War Road. It was Burnsville. Those were teams that looked like us as far as the colors. And so I was always partial to them. And the successes they were having at the time with those colors. So that's what I remember more than anything. Maybe Larry Olimb from War Road.
He's one of my top ones.
Yeah, he's someone I remember because he never came off the ice.
Right.
Yeah,
well, he can do that in the state tournament.
Yeah.
I mean, as long as you don't go 100%, you're a forward. You can't go and do that. Olimb would play so strategic. He would sit back and just, when it's time for him to go, he'd go, and he dominated.
He did dominate.
Yeah,
he was an
it was
outstanding
great.
player. I think he doesn't get talked about enough,
Right.
personally, in the annals. So, yeah, he was someone I definitely remember from being a kid.
See, I liked Olimb. I liked Ken Jernander from
Oh, sure, Greenway.
Greenway Coleraine. I liked George Palawa.
Yep.
From Bemidji.
Rest in peace.
Yeah. Oh, I met him 2 weeks before that accident.
Oh,
too.
no.
God, he was such a good dude. 6'4", 240, first round pick of the Flames. At high school, I'm like, and that was pre the monsters we got these days, right?
Right. Yeah. He was big and he could move.
Yeah.
He was the full package.
Yeah. So those guys, 'cause I think you when you're at the age where you're kind of influential on certain players, those are the guys you remember forever.
Right.
What are you, Tommy? How about you?
Well, you know me, I'm a diehard Gopher hockey nut. So Crowley, Bonin.
Yeah.
I think both those guys were similar to my age too. And
Wheeler.
yeah, do you know Crowley had? I looked it up. 3 titles, and that was, you're right, part of the dynasty. But I didn't know he won 3 in a row. That's
And the high
impressive.
school league, of their infinite wisdom, left him off the 75th team of the grades. It's like, and they left
Jefferson
Phil
High School?
Housley off too.
Jefferson High School.
No, they for the 75th tournament,
okay.
they brought out the 6 players. One like you'd line up for a game: 3 forwards, 2 D, and a goalie. No Crowley on D, no Phil Housley on D. It's like, what the heck are you guys doing?
One of the greatest Americans ever.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And he had a good high school career. I mean, he went to at least 1, if not 2 tournaments, did Phil. And so he checked that box. And they didn't ask me about it, that's for sure.
I always think it's funny when you talk about that Jefferson dynasty, and Mark Parrish played third line for the Jaguars back then.
Initially, yeah. He came into his own later, but yeah, he had to learn behind. He wore 21 because of Nick Checo, because he was so enamored with not just the player that Checo was, but the person he was. He was the upperclassman that would drive you to Burger King or wherever, after practice, and he just thought, I want to be that cool when I'm older and can set that example for the younger guys. That's part of the reason why, they were talented as all get out, but those teams really had a really good bond amongst them. It wasn't, you didn't have to come, Crowley had to pay his dues. I talk about that in the 94 chapter. He said, I used to get a swirly every day.
I was gonna say, did he play behind Treble, or was it Treble a Jefferson kid?
Yeah, he was a
Treble was a senior on the 92 team.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so Crowley would have been probably a sophomore.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, but so it wasn't
really
Treble.
close.
It was a different former captain that he said, I just got to the point where I'd walk to the toilet and just, you didn't have to carry me at that. So I thought, well, I guess he needed a little humbling, but yeah, I said, you let him do that? You can't fight back? And he goes, well, it was a clean toilet. Somehow that made it better.
All right.
It was
But those are the things when you hear that in the interviews, I'm like, that's going in the book.
Yeah.
That's, the story about the referee. That's going in the book. That's what you wanted. I don't care who scores off the forehand or the backhand. And Lauren was the same way. We really said, let's make it about the storytelling. Why do we interview all these people if we aren't going to get that color in the book? Because Let's Play Hockey, did have a book out that was 1945, the first year of the tournament, through 2000. And what it offered, it had all the box scores of all the tournament games, and it had all the rosters of all the tournament qualifying teams. So a great resource. But then when you got to something on John Mayasich, it was like half a page long, and it wasn't any interviews. Doug Woog, same thing. And I thought, we can do better, and we can bring more of the color. I mean, that's what it's all about anyway. So that was more of the influence of why we want to do this book in this fashion.
Well, it sounds like it's going to be great.
Well, Henry Boucha.
Boucher?
Yeah, Boucher. I met him 2 years ago at the old Johnson barn. He was there where our kids were playing War Road, and he was there, and I was like, oh my gosh, and got up pictures with the kids, and also a living legend, right?
And a first-class individual.
Yeah.
Absolutely first class, yeah.
So what do you think about the setup for the state tournaments these days? Is there ever a possibility that they go to 32 teams and just combine them all again?
I don't think there is. The high school league, they want to do for one they're do for all what they would do for one, with the exception, of course, when they went to 7 classes in football. That's the Class 6A is the big school class, and that is 32 teams. And I thought, I wonder if that's going to kick the door open to a format like you're talking about, but it hasn't, and there's just a resistance to it, and it's unfortunate because I think it'd be a model worth trying at least. I mean, what could the worst be? Because it would be fun to see some of these matchups, play out a little bit differently and so on. But I don't know that you're going to be able to get that done. And if it's an argument of, well, this section's too strong and this one's a little bit weaker, you name the sport and we can name sections that have that same dilemma.
Absolutely.
So I don't know if they'll change it or not, but I think it'd have to be a complete shift of the entire philosophy for all the sports. And I don't know if they're really, really ready or willing to do that.
Right.
Mm-hmm. They can't. Well, yeah. We have a great system, and you get. I mean, just look at how successful it is, and these kids are put on a pedestal, and it's awesome, and to see them shine, and got both classes that are really fun to watch. I remember taking off of school to watch it. I had kids taking off of school to watch it. We got Cooper Howe taking off of school to watch it. So it's fun. What about where the games are played? Because that's something that, I'm talking about the section games, because you've got a lot going on there. You've got a lot of different venues. You're selling out these venues in an instant.
Right.
You got Section 4AA, who's the only section that doesn't play at a neutral site. They play all their games at Aldrich. Not only the championship game, all their games at Aldrich, which doesn't seem right to me. Why not just host it all at Mariucci and go like, all right, neutral site, or not even neutral site, maybe the higher seed hosts the semifinals and quarterfinals, and then we're going to do a big old blowout for the championship games and 2 nights at Mariucci, and tell me you wouldn't get 10,000 people there to watch that.
Well, I've seen a few of those here in the last several years since I've been concentrating on hockey for the Star Tribune, and I'll say that there's actually quite a few flaws with Mariucci. Now it's going to change, but up until now, it's been the Olympic sheet. So now you go from predominantly playing the NHL size smaller sheet to all of a sudden the most important game of the season is on a rink surface, and you haven't experienced yet. So that's not ideal. Even the good skating teams will tell you that's not ideal. Parking isn't great over there. Excuse me. Particularly ever since they built the what bank is
Football
the name
stadium.
of the stadium now?
Huntington.
It's been 10 minutes. Have they changed it to something? Yeah, Huntington.
Let's call it the bank.
The bank, yes. Yes. That part we can at least, fall back on. So you've got the parking issue. And then, as silly as it sounds, because hockey people will travel all over Hell's Half Acres for youth tournaments, they don't want to bring the East Metro. They don't have a desire to travel over to Minneapolis like it's South Dakota or something. It's like, it's not that far. But there's not a desire to come over. They feel that they would lose some of the casual fans in the East Metro, bringing them over to Mariucci. So but you're right. I was just at the section finals at Bloomington Ice Garden, packed to the rafters. The following night at Braemar, packed to the rafters. My hope is that the barn that they're building at with the University of St. Thomas, my hope is that alleviates some of this problem.
I heard they were going to be moving it there.
Do you know how many seats that place has? Is it 8, 10?
I haven't heard the capacity.
Yeah.
No.
I haven't heard it either. I can't imagine. I mean, Mariucci's 10. I can't imagine it'll be that big. Probably not right off. But so if you got 6 to 8 in there, and you got a double header going, that would do well.
Yeah.
Anyone that would want to get a ticket could go. Would it sell out? I don't know. Mariucci wasn't always sold out the last few years either. But anybody that wanted to be there could. And you couldn't say that at Big, or you couldn't say it at Braemar just last week. So that would be an improvement.
Yeah, it's odd that you have to take off work or take off school to go stand in line at Aldrich to get a ticket, or jump online, and because more than half the people that want to go can't go.
Yeah, that's probably right. Yeah.
And regardless of home ice or not home ice, I just think there's got to be a solution out there and a better venue for where more people can watch these kids play, because you look at how well the tourney does, and everybody wants to be a part of it. So we should get more people out there to watch these games, as long as people love it. So,
well, I can add to, I think Save of Problems is Section 7 AA, because that's all at Amsoil, and that's fine. It's not technically Duluth East's rink, but the other couple of years ago it was Andover and Elk River in the section final, and they took it up to Amsoil. And you could have fit the people in the crowd into maybe a large SUV. I mean, it was really, really sad environment for a game of that magnitude. The girls this year, I noticed in Section 7 AA, they had 2 sites ready to go. They're either playing at the Fogarty Arena in Blaine, or at the, I think it's Proctor, the arena in Proctor. And I thought, well, that makes sense. Then when Grand Rapids Greenway, the girls, they qualified for the section final, Andover had to go north. But that at least makes more sense than just sending 2 teams that far north for a section final like they do with the boys.
Yeah, you're going to miss out on all the relatives and the friends. And all
so have
that.
options.
Right,
have options, and have a metro location ready to go if you need it. And if there is a northern entrant, fine, we'll put it at Amsoil, whatever. But let's not move 2 metro schools up there.
A neutral site.
Yeah, right. And they do the same problem in Section 1. That Lakeville's played Lakeville at Rochester forever. I believe Mankato East and West played at Rochester a few years back as well. And that doesn't feel right.
Right.
So we got a lot of problems. We got a lot of issues.
The greatest thing in Minnesota is the state hockey.
Yeah. If that's our biggest problem, we got bigger.
Pretty good.
Well, the older you get, you're not going to achieve perfection. I always say the best solution is the one that's least flawed, and what we have now is probably the least flawed. So that's something I can say in support of how we do what we do.
Well, I don't know if I'll agree with you, because I just don't think one team should be playing at their home ice. When you got send Section 4 to Braemar and send the Braemar section over to Aldrich, or
then you have the attendance problem.
I think people will travel 25 minutes for a game.
No, I mean you'd have. I mean, not that you wouldn't go. That you would have too many people.
Sure.
So you'd still fill these places up. I mean, they're bigger, but they're not that big.
Right.
You'd still have people left out that wanted to get in.
Right. For sure.
You have another solution too, though, right?
I don't know. Do I?
Take the team that has the home ice there and move them to a different section.
Switch Aldrich or switch Hill and Cretin.
Switch
Cretin,
St. Thomas
and Hill.
Any of them.
Yeah.
Just not a home ice advantage for sure.
Any more moments that you're contemplating? While you're thinking about it, what's your favorite high school hockey jersey?
That one's easy because I'm a big Halloween guy. So guess where I'm going with this. No, Humboldt. I don't.
Spuds? They're black and orange, aren't they?
They are black and orange, but that's not the one I'm thinking of. I was kind of pulling for them, not because nothing against Edina, but that would have been a fun story to see Moorhead playing in the semifinals. But alas, it didn't happen. You got to go back a little ways. The Halloween machine in the 1970s when they really hit their stride, Grand Rapids.
Oh, Grand Rapids.
That's my favorite jersey.
That's old school too. That's an old school looking jersey.
They got here, I think, in 2000. Well, they won it in 2016, but then they made a tournament appearance sometime before that with, I think, Patrick White was part of that team.
Yeah, they were good.
And they went with the retro jerseys that year, so that solidified. I'm watching that game and I'm going, oh yeah, that's awesome. That's solidified that jersey is my favorite.
The Jaguar's got to be. I mean, one of the top ones.
Pretty
right?
classic. It's
Baby
pretty
blue is
memorable.
pretty- yeah.
Yep.
Now,
Powder
see,
blue.
that'll get you stomped in the wrong neighborhood to call it baby blue. I forget what they called it instead, like
Powder
Imperial
blue?
or something. Huh?
Oh, Imperial. I was saying powder blue, but that
No,
might be
wasn't-
worse.
no, it had a much more highfalutin sounding name.
okay.
Something,
Or tough.
yeah. Or not even tough, just important sounding. You know. Yeah, so I don't remember exactly. Yeah, powder blue. That'll be. Don't Tom Satterdahl isn't going to want to hear that.
Satterdahl.
All right. Well, you're looking up one more great story. Let's talk real quick about Willie Anderson Insurance because Willie Anderson is going to start sponsoring the pod, and we're really grateful for that. And what's great about Willie Anderson Insurance is he is there for you morning, noon, or night. He's there to answer your phone calls. He's always ready for you. He's not a big conglomerate. You're not going to go through on hold messages. He's going to pick up that phone when you need him, because when you need an insurance agent, you need him like now. And that's Willie Anderson. He is best for home, auto, commercial, you name it. He's there for you. Just give him a call, 612-361-7283 for a quote, or you can just visit willandersonagency.com, and that's Willie Anderson. He's the best. He's with American Family Insurance, and he's the guy to call. So thanks, Will Anderson, for sponsoring the podcast, and can't wait to send some folks your way to help you out. All right. Any more stories that are that are memorable for you? Are there any this year, Cooper? You ever heard any stories this year that are that everybody's talking about here at the?
Besides Brady Bork with his proposal, his prom proposal.
Wasn't that
The
great?
prom proposal was.
Although
Cooper doesn't
I'm
like
a
it.
little, I'm anticipating the worst, because these things seem to always happen this way. There was a teaser to a tweet I saw from somebody involved with Channel 5 television news, saying, like, a follow-up on that story, and then the thing was, and why it may never happen again. I thought, oh, don't tell me they're gonna try to do something to, it's like, why would you mess with that? It was great. I can't imagine it's gonna be, what's the harm?
Well, I think remember last year though, when the kid from Hill skated up and he says, Pioneer Landscaping. So they're kind of getting a free.
Yeah, you've had two kids do it this year too, I think.
Oh,
One
did
kid
they?
from Northfield did it today. He talked about his landscaping company.
Okay.
Oh,
And Jude Bonin just did it too. Okay.
yeah. So
All
I
right,
think
there you go.
they're probably going to have some delay, because I know the family, because they're from Laverne, and he got some grief from it from KSTP or Channel 5.
I think
so
it's funny.
I do.
Shame
too.
on those
man.
TV stations.
Right.
That's good stuff.
How about that kid's haircut that he shaved the top of his head?
Yeah.
And
He
he
looked like
decided to-
Bozo the Clown. Oh my
yeah,
God.
like a monk. And then they usually have the
Yeah,
hair
like a
around the side. Yeah.
Shaolin monk. Yeah, that was
so
funny.
Yeah, they're just very quickly, as far as the book goes, one of the things that we probably don't talk about enough toward the back of the book, when all the chapters have come and gone, is all these top 10 lists. And they go from some of the things we've talked about, greatest games, the coaches, championship game performances like Bessie's. We talk a little bit about, there are some nicknames that are a lot of fun. You can read about the Cotton Rockets and the Pony Line. And we talked about Palawa. He's our best big man. And the little big men, Carl Gehring is on there. And then we have like things like are outside of the tournament, but are a big time part of the fabric. We had celebrity sightings, which included Tom Hanks.
Really?
If you can
At the
believe that.
tourney?
Yeah. In fact, he was our number one celebrity sighting.
Wow.
Howard Cosell, Cheryl Teagues. I mean, it's just a fascinating collection of people that, because when it was I forget who had the tournament, but when ABC took it over in Channel 5, they were trying to promote having the tournament by bringing a lot of these stars in to see and be seen at the tournament, and that's why a lot of them came when they did. In fact, one of these, we got a picture of Cheryl Teague sitting ringside.
That's why we didn't win in sections, because Cheryl Teagues was there. I couldn't focus on anything.
There she is.
Yeah, your game.
There she is.
Oh, Jesus.
She's a Minnesota native.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, but yeah, there she is sitting in the 79
So you're
tournament.
telling me there's a chance.
So that's a lot of the fun and color and nice little bite-sized chunks for people to go back and go, oh, wow, look at this. I didn't know that. So that's another aspect of the book that's a lot of fun.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, that's great. Well, appreciate you coming on. It was a pleasure to meet you. And good luck with the book. I can't wait to read it myself.
Yeah, thank you. On behalf of Lauren Nelson, my co-author, who worked his tail off as equally as I did, we thank you for the opportunity to be here, and thank you for all you do to support high school hockey.
Yeah,
Awesome.
it's the best. Thanks for coming along, David.
Anytime.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can hear us on all your major platforms, your podcast platforms, Spotify, YouTube, Apple. And like we say, go through life, do the right things, be a good person, try to help, don't hurt. And most of all, don't be a dick.